Hey folks, welcome back to another video. Are you a genius and love challenging your intellect with puzzles, riddles and problems to solve? But you want to experience this in virtual reality, though you don't know which games are good enough to challenge you? Well, have no fear, WaqMan is here. Today, we are going to go through the top puzzle games on the Quest. This includes many different styles of puzzle games. I played so many puzzle games that my brain has now turned into mush. So if you enjoyed the video and find it helpful, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Talking about many, remember we have a giveaway bonanza on right now, where I will be giving the winner any game on the Quest platform. And to enter, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, put on bell notifications and comment hashtag WaqMan21 down below. Not only that, the developers of All-in-One Spots VR have also provided 3 Quest keys and 4 Steam keys to give away. To enter that, just add in the comments hashtag All-in-One Spots Quest or hashtag All-in-One Spots Steam. Remember, for the Steam version you need PC VR. Well, let's get straight into the video. One thing I want to mention is that I'm kinda dumb when it comes to puzzles, so these are from a perspective of a casual player. So let's start off with the sponsor of this video. Number 1, Puzzling Places, who are also providing a Gleam giveaway for an Oculus Quest 2 with multiple other goodies. And if you enter the code WaqMan, you'll get even more entries. The Gleam link is in the description below. Now for the game itself. Well, this is basically a 3D jigsaw puzzling game, but the graphics of the puzzles are so lifelike it's unreal. Once you finish the puzzle, you can basically put your face in it. I kept doing that just to see the miniature furniture and everything else because it honestly looked like it was real. It was just beautiful. But anyway, for the puzzle part, there are currently 16 unique puzzles and each puzzle has 5 jigsaw modes, where the puzzle will be available in 25, 50, 100, 200 and 400 pieces. Like I said, I'm a novice, so I kept lowering the difficulty to around 25. But I suggest only to do that to start off with and get used to the concept, and then move on to 50 or 100 pieces minimum. There is a tutorial on how to play in case you're struggling, but it is easy to pick up. Now, this game really gives you a feeling of satisfaction every time you complete a certain part of the puzzle. Now, the jigsaw actually comes alive when you're completing it. You hear the sounds of the marketplace, you'll hear the bell of the clock tower. It really gives you a great atmosphere, making you feel like you've actually accomplished something. Although when you finish, I wish the fireworks were a bit better. These seem like a pity firework display. Now, I did try the 400 pieces mode, but that one is for the hardcore jigsaw fans, as it will take you a long while to finish. There are actually other options to make the game even more challenging for you jigsaw geniuses out there. Overall, the game is actually top notch, and if you like puzzles or jigsaws even a little bit, you'll love this. Now, because the game has been sponsored, I can't give it an official rating in this video, but if I did give it a rating, it would be an A. The only thing I wish I had was being able to listen to YouTube music whilst doing the jigsaws. Number 2, Last Labyrinth. Well, this is an interesting one. Here you're basically strapped to a chair for some reason and only have a pointer in your head to communicate. And the person you'll be communicating to is an annoying little girl who doesn't speak any human language. She must be from the world of The Sims. So the game starts you in a dark room and is basically an escape room type of game, where if you fail then you and the annoying little girl dies. So something like Saw, with the brutal murders as well. Although no blood or gore, which was sad. Now, majority of the time the puzzles are really easy. Some parts are a little bit tricky. But I'm not going to give any spoilers, but one part was like the psychic boss from Metal Gear Solid if you played that. Anyway, there are multiple endings to the game and as a result a relatively longer play session, probably about 10 hours or more, if you want to unlock all the endings. Although I wasn't a big fan of the story, it's okay, but not that exciting. I think the child murder is probably the most novel thing in the game, as the other game mechanics of being tied to a chair with a pointer gets very old quickly. So overall, since it is a decent experience, this gets a rating of B. Number 3, The Room VR, A Dark Matter. Now this is one of the best escape rooms I've played so far. The puzzles are actually challenging, but not so much that I get annoyed and stop playing. It basically just makes you use your brain, which I really enjoyed. The story is good and makes you want to progress to learn more. The environments are interesting as well, with a little bit of a creepy vibe. To be honest, the puzzles are so varied, it's actually incredible. Now each puzzle game on this list is a little different because they have all a different take. But I think this is probably one of the best out there. There are unique events, scenarios and things to figure out. There is limited movement though, as you can only use select teleportation for certain points of interest areas. It can be a good thing and a bad thing, so you can't really go exploring, but at least you won't waste your time looking at every nook and cranny unnecessarily. The game is meant to be around 4 hours in length, but you'll be there a lot longer trying to solve the puzzles. So if you enjoy puzzle games where you need to actually use your brain, you can't really get much better than The Room VR, and it gets an S for being so good. Number 4, Help Yourself. Now this game is criminally underrated. I only recently found it myself, but here you basically clone yourself using time travel, where you help yourself by throwing yourself ammo or weapons.
I'm you! I'm not me! Are you me or am I you?
It's crazy to think about it, but the game is basically a puzzle shooter, where you have multiple spawn points, but also multiple tasks that you need to complete at the same time. So what you need to do is spawn in one location, do your action and throw the gun in the direction where your time clone will be, and then reset the time loop. And then grab the gun that you were going to throw earlier and use it to kill your enemy. The concept is amazing, and I can't believe this game is free. The puzzles also get harder the higher level you go, and there is a reasonable amount of content currently. Plus they're looking to introduce a map editor, which will make it endless. The art style is like a comic book, which is okay. It reminds me of Borderlands. The game is currently early in its development, so the potential is there for it to be one of the greats. The fact that the game is free makes it get an A. Number 5. Tetris Effect. Now this is a blast from the past. To be honest, when you look at videos of this game, it doesn't really do it justice. It just looks like you're playing that old classic Tetris game just in VR. However, when you actually try it, the feeling and enjoyment you get is unreal. The environment the game sets is amazing, with its music and background graphics. It really does start to mesmerize you, so much so that I was actually just staring at the background at one point, forgetting to play the game. Although I wish it had a mode where you can just watch the effect and listen to the music. There are 30 beautiful levels to progress through, but for the gameplay it's basically Tetris but in VR. Though you actually have to experience it for yourself to understand what the Tetris effect really is. The puzzles are actually quite challenging, but they even have modes for the people that just want a casual experience with the no fail mode. VR really does make everything better. It's even great to transition new players into VR and give it a wow factor. And so this gets a B+. Number 6. Jigsaw 360. So here's another Jigsaw puzzle game. Although this one is quite different from Puzzling Places. Jigsaw 360 has two options. The first is playing it like a normal jigsaw puzzle where you put 2D jigsaw pieces in the correct places. Or you can play the sphere mode where they're in a 3D sphere. But these are still images. Although the best thing about the game is that you can add more puzzles in by pulling images from the internet. The developer is also working on adding your own custom images. So if you wanted to, you could do a jigsaw of your dog or your cat or even your mum. The only issue I had is you can only have a limited amount of pieces out at a time. Any more and they just go back to the board, which is kind of disappointing. But one nice thing is that it has hand tracking as well. Plus it has an autosave where you can start where you left off. Overall it's a simple but fun jigsaw game. And if you love doing jigsaw puzzles, then this one is endless. So it gets a B-. Number 7. I Expect You to Die Too. Here is another escape room type of game. However, this will really make you feel like you're a spy in a movie. Although personally felt more like Johnny English than James Bond. Both are good, but just the tone this game sets with its humor. The soundtrack of the game was actually really cool. That part really felt like a high budget Bond movie. Now the puzzles themselves are a mix of looking around and finding things and then figuring things out before the time ends. But you're most likely to die a few times, until you go, oh, is that what I needed to do? The only thing I found disappointing was the combat. It can't really be called that. So just think of it that it has none. But the voice acting is fantastic. There's a scene with the play and the voice acting actually made me want to watch the play for real. The puzzles are ranged from being very simple to a little complicated, but nothing too much. It's a great puzzle game for people new to VR, or puzzle games in general, as the whole experience of it was really cool. Although I wish the game was a bit longer, coming in around 3 hours, though it will take the people not great at puzzles a little bit longer. Also you might want to play the first game before this, as there were a few references to the first game, but it's not a must. Overall, due to the quality of the game, it gets an A. Number 8. Nan Industries. Here is a very interesting puzzle game which is kind of like Lemmings, if you're old enough to have played that. You basically have to design a conveyor belt to get the blocks from one location to another. Sounds simple enough, but it gets complicated fast, especially when you have to get them over the walls and back down, especially since there's no gravity. There are 30 levels that are already pre-made, which range in difficulty, but you can design your own levels as well, or download the community levels. To be honest, I'll be surprised if you get through all the 30 levels in the first place. The only two things I don't like about the game are, first, the background is a static image of space, which looks poor quality. The second is the tutorial is more complicated than just figuring out the puzzle. Other than that, it's actually a great fun, free puzzle game and gets a B. Number 9. Down the Rabbit Hole. Now this game is as strange as the books or movies of Alice in Wonderland. It's actually quite interesting though. You basically play both Alice, who might not be called Alice, as well as a giant creature similar to Moss. You traverse around the level grabbing onto the branches to see other stages, as well as controlling Alice. It is a fantasy, so don't expect a realistic story, like in the beginning how all the invitations ended up all over the game world from a closed room. Talking about the invitations, your aim is to try and find as many as you can, and depending on how many you find, that's the ending you will get, which means there are multiple endings. There are bad endings and good endings depending on how many you found. Obviously I don't want to spoil anything. The only thing I'll say is that the graphics are great. You can actually get up in close with everything. The gameplay is fun and the voice acting is fantastic. I think it's a game everyone who enjoys a story or a puzzle will love, as the puzzles range from reasonably easy to extremely annoying if you don't think about it. Overall it's a great one to get for anyone and gets an A. Now just before we get to our final few games, I would like to announce some winners of the All-in-One Sports VR giveaway. The Quest version goes to... and the Steam version goes to... Congratulations! Please contact me on my Discord to claim your prize. Remember, we still have ongoing giveaways, so make sure you enter. Number 10. Enhance. Okay, so this is a great free game that is for anyone who wants to train their brain on a daily basis, or weekly, or whatever you want to do. A key to memory is to practice it. The more you train your brain, the better it becomes. So here are a list of areas the game makes you focus on. Number 1 is memory, attention, flexibility, problem solving, motor control, spatial orientation, and information processing. There's a few different exercises that all go up in difficulty as you play, and will determine your level for the next time you play. So you'd have to start at the baby levels. Now this game is a little weird and does ask you for your email address as well for you to play. Other than that, it is a free, fun, brain challenging game that I think everyone should just check out at least, and it gets a C+. Number 11, Cubism. This one actually took me a little bit by surprise. The game in the trailer seemed quite simplistic, but it is actually quite challenging. It starts you on easy, but is actually challenging even then, but in a good way. As you can always do it, but how long it takes you to do it is up to you. Basically, you have broken shapes that you need to combine and make into a structure that you have in front of you. It's actually 3-dimensional, so it matters how you place it. It's like a jigsaw, but not at the same time. Another awesome thing is the implementation of hand tracking. It's actually done quite well. Now the controllers are obviously easier to use, but don't feel as cool as using your own hands. There are multiple different levels that go up in difficulty as you progress. I believe there are around a total of 90 puzzles, so will keep you going for a long time. Now the only thing that I'm not fond of is that the background is a little black. You can make it dark if you want, but it's like meh. However, considering the game is priced so cheap and still gives you a lot of enjoyment, then it's definitely worth it and gets a B+. Number 12, Moss. Now this is one of the classics of VR and took the top spot in a lot of areas. In Moss, you are a spirit of sorts and are there to help the protagonist of the story, Quill, who is a little mouse. You will be known as the reader, probably because you're reading the tale of Quill. This is further emphasized during the game's story moments, as you will appear back in the library and flip the pages as short story segments unfold. At the end of each story segment, you'll flip over a page and get sucked back into Quill's world. Moss is a platformer with a lot of puzzles that you need to try and interact with, but there is also about 50% action, where you will have Quill fight like a little ninja mouse. To be honest, you can't appreciate the game until you've played it. The interactions with Quill and the relationship you build with him is a fantastic VR experience. There are a mix of puzzles and combat to keep things engaging, with a great story, and all of it is done so well that it gets an A. Number 13, Hyperstacks. Now if you wanted to test your mind and your body at the same time with some action, then this one will interest you. Hyperstacks is an action puzzle platformer. Here you'll be able to climb walls, zip line, use a bow and arrow amongst other weapons, and the graphics are pretty cool with neon lighting. However, the issue with the game is that it's basically in its alpha stage. Currently there is a tutorial, which is actually extremely fun, and they have community made maps, which aren't as good as the tutorial, but at least they add to the content. The game mechanics are actually solid, it just needs a main campaign for it to be an amazing game. I've included it here because of the potential, and I'm hoping the developer actually fulfills the promises for the game. But for now, I would keep an eye on the game, but only get it if you want to support the developer. So in its current state, it gets a D+. Well, that's all folks. Here are my favorite puzzle games on the Quest platform. Now there are some other puzzle games that I've not included in the list, but that's either because they're really not worth being on here, or they've been abandoned by the developer without being completed, or I just haven't tried them. So if you have any that I didn't include that you love, let people know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also remember to enter all of the giveaways, they're almost all over. Well, thanks for watching, have a great day, stay safe and see you next time.